My name is John Smart and I am a partner in Ledingham Chalmers Inverness office here. I head up the commercial property department.
So with that kind of specialism, you're obviously intimately aware of stuff like land reform, and I believe there's been some changes in legislation recently. What are those changes?
Recently, a couple of fairly important pieces of legislation. The Community Empowerment Act, which was passed through the Parliament last year. Now that gives communities who had rights to buy before much more enhanced rights to buy, and extends that right to buy not just in rural areas but to urban areas as well. So right to buy now extends from rural estates and traditional estates to any property within Scotland at all, including towns, villages, settlements. So that's a big expansion, a big change.
And how does that impact on the kind of work that you're doing here at Ledingham Chalmers then? Because it's bound to have had an effect.
It has, yeah. I mean, we have been involved in the land sector and community purchases for a while, but that has tended to be in kind of rural areas of Scotland, whereas now it's very much centred on towns, villages and cities as well.
You used the word involved there. What does that mean in terms of kind of practical services that you tend to provide to customers?
Yeah, well, the legislation itself is complicated. So if a community body wishes to instigate a purchase under this legislation, there are certain regulation procedures it needs to go through. It needs to set itself up. So you could have a community who are interested in acquiring land, say for a community hall or start-up units for industry. They probably need to set themselves up into a company or a charity, and that needs accountancy advice, it needs legal advice.
What sort of benefits is this reform bringing to these communities?
It should free up land which has been, say, stagnant for development. For example, if an estate had just held land traditionally and not done much with it, and not had any plans for it, not wanted to do much with it, suddenly there are these opportunities now for communities to register interests over that land. The Scottish Government, in promoting this legislation, has also boosted the Scottish Land Fund fairly substantially. So, for example, from 2016 to 2020, there is a stream of money going into the Scottish Land Fund, which is there to give out to community groups who want to purchase land for the betterment of the community.
We've talked about communities there.
Yeah.
Does it have an impact on businesses? Are there things that businesses need to be aware of in relation to land reform as well?
If there is land or buildings that are seen to be what the legislation terms abandoned or neglected, then the community can form a group and actually force the owner of that land to sell it to the community. So that is a threat, and the advice there would be for any businesses in that position to be seen to be looking after the property, maintaining it, not letting it get into a mess, and maybe even putting in a planning application.
So the big issue is around something that's not being used?
That's correct, indeed.
And that's what they need to make sure that they're covering?
Absolutely, yeah.